So now we're going to take another angle on this conversation with one of our very good friends of the All American Talk Show. We're going to talk about something interesting, airplanes. We're going to talk about what's going on in the sometimes friendly skies, which is going to be interesting for me because I'm a railroad guy. So let's bring in Stefan Padfield, who is executive director, of the Free Enterprise Project at the National Center for Public Policy Research. Stefan, welcome to the All American Talk Show.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how it matters to us when we're in the air.
So we have filed a lawsuit against United Airlines, basically seeking books and records from them. And what we're doing is asking whether they have been unduly influenced by a union that appears to be on some level part of this red-green alliance that a lot of people have been concerned about recently. And so particularly what we're asking is, did the airline cease flights to Israel in response to pressure from the union that was anti-Semitic in nature, anti-Israel in nature, and which would be improper, at the very least, if the union, or United Airlines, I should say, didn't disclose that that was their rationale. So we had asked United for access to these books and records to make that evaluation. They refused, but restarted the flights, then stopped them again. So now we're in court to try to get access to those books and records.
So now help me understand this. This is very interesting. From my experience in dealing with unions, especially transportation unions, they always want to go somewhere or do something, run a train somewhere, fly a plane somewhere, whatever it is, because that's how they make their money. So what you're saying, what you're alleging, and which would be very scary if this is what happened, that someone was able to influence unions to say, hey, we don't want to fly to Israel because of basically anti-Semitic, whatever's going on in their background. And so this would actually be cutting them, or is there some kind of other arrangement going on so they're making their money otherwise?
Well, I think the concern is that we have seen across the board in our institutions in the United States and really globally that this idea of activism trumping everything, right? We've seen it in the area of DEI. We've seen it in the area of ESG, this sense that you are an activist first, and that activism, your duty to the cause as you see it, is greater than your responsibility to your job, your fiduciary duty, bringing the miles in for the flight, so to speak. So there really is, I think, a question, and again, we are just asking the question at this point, legitimately. There is a question that this activism, that there are activists within the union who have been quite vocal about their opposition to Israel with BDS and so on. And so that motive, that activist motive, has basically stepped over what would otherwise be the sorts of rational interests that you're talking about. That's the concern.
Very interesting. And now can you outline some other companies where you've seen this and have successfully exposed it?
So I think generally any place where we see companies that are, let's just take one example on the DEI front, for example, right? Where you have companies that are expressly, or have in the past expressly adopted what are essentially quotas, right? That seems on its face to be counterproductive and to be value destroying. First and foremost, because it's illegal, but also just because of all the other ancillary costs that come with discriminating on the basis of race and sex. And yet we see company after company, although we're certainly in a vibe shift right now, so to speak, we have seen company after company really lean into these sorts of quotas. And it seems to be quite contrary to their interest. And one of the things that we've argued in multiple places is that there might be activists in the food chain, so to speak. So I'll give you just one specific example. Robbie Starbuck, I'm sure your viewers are familiar with his name, very successful with getting companies to walk back some of this aggressive DEI agenda. And he's talked to executives, and I believe him when he says this, that when they started actually looking at the substance of their DEI and not just getting swayed by the nice sounding words, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that they were shocked at what they found, which really suggests quite strongly that you have activists in the bowels of the corporate bureaucracy that are pushing through agendas that are activist driven and harmful to the corporation. So I think it's something that certainly does not explain every situation that turns out badly on that front, or on the safety front, for example, with Boeing, a lot of concerns about safety issues there tied into other agendas, right? These are questions that need to be asked. It's not always going to be the case that there's some actual bad faith actor, but the idea that those sorts of bad faith actors aren't embedded in these corporations, I think would be naive.
For giving us a glimpse of this anti-Semitism and the not so friendly skies. It's incredibly disturbing that this is even a possibility. And if it is in fact uncovered to be true, please make an example of United so no other airline, much less other company, thinks this is an acceptable way to conduct their business.
Absolutely. I mean, we are always on the lookout for situations where corporations are essentially abusing their power to advance these radical leftist agendas in ways that not only harm shareholders, certainly that's our focus primarily, but also just society more broadly. I mean, I just say, to take a big step back, there are so many solutions that are available to the problems that we face as a society that don't involve these radical agendas. And in fact, they cut the opposite way. So we will be there pushing back and exposing these problems every place that we find them.
For your fantastic work, and we can't wait to get an update on this case and anything else you uncover along the lines of it.
And before you go, please let everyone know where they can follow your work and how they can support what you're doing.
Absolutely. Easiest thing to do is to go to nationalcenter.org. We have a variety of projects. I believe you're associated with Project 21, which is a fantastic part of the National Center. We've got the Free Enterprise Project, where I'm the executive director. We've got Able Americans focusing on disability issues. You can sign up for alerts. And then if you want to follow me personally, I'm on X at Stefan Padfield.
Since you got your JD from University of Kansas, are they going to win the NCAA tournament next year? Is it going to happen?
I'm always going to say yes. And one of these times, I'm going to get that, be able to say I picked the right winner yet again. It's been too long.
All right. Well, Stefan Padfield, thank you so much for being a part of the All-American Talk Show today. Please check them out, nationalcenter.org, and all their great programs. And we will have you back on to talk about more of your work very soon.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.